Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions 4 p.m. BST on a Tuesday. Jana is back in the chair, but this time we're going to do an in-depth. We're going to chart her history, taking it back to childhood and where she is at today. I'm going to share to the group. Jana, do you want to let people know what you've been up to this week? Maybe tell them about the event that you've been doing as well, that you've been stressing over.
Oh my God. Yeah. So this week has been, yesterday has been very challenging for me. So I was supposed to speak at Ad World, a very big online conference. They were having around 18,000 attendees. And then I was, I think, scheduled around like 5 p.m. So my presentation was supposed to be fifth on the schedule yesterday, only to find out that their website was having a glitch because of all the attendees buying the tickets that very same day. And so they kind of blacked out, like, all the presentations, like you could see like only a black screen. And then they just erased like all the presentations from that day. And mine was left as the first one to go at 5 p.m. And then my presentation started. And after 5 minutes, like I could see a black screen, and I contacted the organizer and I was like, my presentation is not showing, and they were still running it. And they said like, no, 10,000 attendees can still see it. And I checked the chat and nobody could see that. And what happened is like, I was staring at a black screen for like 15 minutes and they let my presentation air for the last 5 minutes. So they literally like butchered my presentation. They like, I was just like, that's all folks. And there was like my face across the screen. And I was so pissed off. And at the end of the day, like, like all other people were, of course, very frustrated about everything. And then they decided to move all of the presentations that were scheduled for the first day. They made an additional fourth day when all the presentations are going to be aired once again. I mean, which sucks because, I was there for the live Q&As, and I saw that there were like a lot of people on our website, and I was just like, man, like this is like, why me? At least other presentations just got, moved to the other, day, and they decided to air mine and butcher it. And like, that's it, Jana. This is your presentation, like 15 minutes of black screen and 10 minutes of your face, And
but other than that, you're right though. I know, because you spent a lot of time putting it together, and it's frustrating because it's not that we're on that scale, but I run summits, and it's 18,000 is quite a lot. I mean, in the Amazon space, people don't hit those kind of numbers. Mine runs on Thursday, I think, but I think the thing is they added an extra day, and I said it to you anyway. Let's stop complaining, and then let's talk about your history. Let's take it back to childhood first. Early memory of wanting to do entrepreneurial activities.
Right. Well, when I was a kid, I was like really full of energy, and I really wanted to have like every single activity in my life that I could actually participate in. So apart from like, I was actually going to 2 different kindergartens. So I went to a British kindergarten, and I had a British accent when I was a kid, and then I decided to ditch it when I went to the States when I was 16. And so I went to a British kindergarten, and I went to a musical kindergarten. So ever since I was like a really small kid, like age 4, I wanted to do like multiple things. And then after that, I went figure skating when I was 5. I went, I played the piano when I was starting when I was 6. And I spoke multiple languages. I want to do all sorts of like, all sorts of things except sports, I was never actually interested in sports, and neither were my parents, which is my biggest regret till this day. So instead of being like a gracious ballerina or like a athletically built person, I was somebody who was like always like in the books or in, some other stuff that involved sitting. But I always wanted to do so many different things. And I felt the best like when I had like so many things to do during my day. Like the worst thing that could happen for me is like not having any extra activities during the day except one, because that means that I'm never gonna do this one, because I'm gonna prolong it and push it until like it's time to bed. Like literally, it was then. And then ever since I was like in elementary school, as I said, like I like speaking languages, and I used to kind of help other students in like languages, English, and like Serbian and other stuff. And then I was always, I never wanted to charge for that, but I always wanted to teach an assistant, because a lot of people wanted help with English. And then I always wanted to kind of have an assistant that's going to help me out with like the schedule and stuff, because we didn't have cell phones back at the time. That was like 22 years ago, like maybe even more. Yeah. And then I was having an assistant, and I would be always like, tell me what's my plan for the day and stuff like that. So I had my elementary school friend like do that for me sometimes. And then I'm like, this would be like really cool to, kind of, have something like, not like a company at that point. I didn't think of like owning a company or, starting to do something on myself, but I just definitely thought that I could, hire someone to be of help to me, and that I could be a fair boss, like not being like all bossy and whatever. I'm like, I really need help, and I would like to kind of outsource some of my things to this other person. Now, the thing is, when I was a kid, I was much more, I was very, fierce as a kid. I did not take shit like from anyone. I like did not put up with anything. And I was not like a bitch or bossing around.
What's changed today?
I will come to that.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So you was fierce as a child.
Yeah.
Didn't take shit off people.
Yeah. And like, but the problem was like, like I never actually, like the older I was, kind of more afraid I was to do like and make some bold moves. When I was like in 5th grade, I was like having like this like English lessons, like assistants, blah blah blah, booking my slots, literally. And then like as time went by, I was kind of being more and more afraid. Like the more mature I became, the more afraid I was. And I was not bold or anything. I was kind of, like, what are other people gonna think about me? And so I was just like, I was not feeling conscious or confident or anything. So everything I had, like, which would kind of build up like in elementary school until I was like, I don't know, 11 or 12, I kind of lost that like during my life, like in high school.
So, do you mind me asking, like you said, being fierce, was that for you like a defense mechanism?
Not really. I was always a really good friend, and I would always like listen to people, and I was never rude. I just never let people pick on me, like right. in elementary school. I would just be like, no, like, and I have no problem to tell you that you are a bully and back off. But that kind of changed the more I was like, going older and probably more aware of my surroundings and friends and life and, like high school and job and new surroundings. I was kind of feeling more and more afraid, and I was not the same person I was in elementary school. And that really bugged me for a long time, because that kind of went and changed a little bit of my relationship to people. I was not being that bold anymore. I was not being the person who I genuinely know I was, just because I was kind of afraid. And I think that the worst thing I was afraid about is like people judging me or saying that I was not cool and people not liking me or loving me, because like what I kind of thought it was like the same is that when you have an argument with someone, that it means that somebody's not going to love you, and that it means that they're going to turn your back on you. And then what am I gonna do? I'm gonna die without this person, and I'm gonna die with their attention and stuff. So that kind of got into my brains, and like throughout my whole high school. And I like at the end of the high school, of course, you're like, teenager, you do like a lot of crazy things you're not proud of course. And
can we talk about any of those? I mean, obviously you can leave some off the table, there's boundaries, but is there anything?
I lied my parents so much like about everything. They were I mean, they're really strict, but I mean, they were not like insanely strict. I mean, the thing is that I was so kind of afraid of them. So if they were to tell me like, you have to be back at home at 10 p.m. and I was like 17 at that time, I'll be like, okay, I'm here at 10 p.m. Like I did not have, I lost that boldness I had in elementary school. Like if they were to tell me then you're going to be coming home before, dinner, your mom is making, I'll be just like, I'll come home when I feel like I'm coming home, right?
Yeah. So you were more rebellious.
So yes, I was, not too rebellious. I was still like, I was a really good student, and I would always do my homeworks. I only had like, my grades were amazing. I went like, to different competitions. Like I went to elementary school and musical elementary school. And I was really, like I was really a good student, but a lot of times, I like when I grew up, I didn't feel that, I'm just gonna be the best version of myself. So I was never rebellious when it comes to school or like arguing with teachers. I would always learn and study and get good grades. But in my, private life, I would stand up for myself. And I kind of lost that like during high school because, like you're rebellious, like regarding other things. Like I had to be home by 10 p.m. And I had my best friend at the time. She had also like very strict parents. Of course, they made, they found their match, and they're like, you and her, you should come home at 10 p.m. You should come home together, Yeah. So like me and her, we were regularly like coming home like at 10 p.m. But let me tell you like something, like there was nothing you cannot do what people can do till 3 a.m. till 10 p.m. So whatever you thought I was not doing just because I was coming home at 10 p.m., I was doing it. And maybe even more than others, because it was just like 30 minutes to go. Let's just, like drink like a half a bottle of Jack, like, I don't know, do other crazy stuff. So like there was always time and place. As I said, like I was a very well organized person because of like 2 high schools and everything. So I could organize my night out and I could plan everything in like 3 hours and be home at 10 p.m. And my parents would think that they saved me from smoking or drinking or something just because I was supposed to be home at 10 p.m. And then they never understood that. And I just kept lying to them even more and more and more and more just because I thought, this is how I should. Yeah, I'm getting away with it. And this is like, this is going to work. And of course they knew everything because like I'm very, in case you have noticed, I'm a very loud speaker and I yell when I talk. So like I like didn't even have to just kind of whisper. I would just kind of get on the call with my friend, and my mom would literally hear everything we were doing just because I was yelling, like, and at one point I was just like looking around the room being like, did you guys bug me? And then I was like, no, I'm yelling, that's it. And my mom was just like, no, you're just so loud. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, like I had like a hard time like in high school because of my parents and the crazy curfew I had, which literally did not end before I was like 20. It was just like, and then my younger sister, like they would tell her like, Nina, you should go back and, you should be home at 10 p.m. And she would just stay till 4 a.m. in the morning. And she just came back with her friends and she was like, I don't understand what's the fuss about? Like I came home when everybody else is coming home and I'm going to come home by myself. And she just did it. And I stood and watched in shock. I was like, what did you do? Like, you're so done. And she's like, I don't care. I want to come home at 4 a.m. when everybody else comes home. And then I'm like, wow. And I didn't even try that ever, because one of my weakest points in my life general is overthinking. Yeah. So by the time I'm going to ask my mom to let me stay longer, I had like 17,000 scenarios in my head. What would have happened if I had told them that I want to stay longer, or what would have happened if I had stayed longer? So like till this day, like overthinking has been my biggest problem. And like, just I literally created like a season finale in my head. I would literally go so far and then be like, wait, this is all not real. So I have like I have a lot of like, creative imagination, I would say. And then, just like always overthinking. And like till this day, like whatever I do, sometimes I just kind of drift away. And then I'm like, wait, just, we have to like, get back and just, do this. Like, don't go overthinking and over analyzing things and don't do that. And, I kind of felt relieved when I read that really smart people do that. So I was like, well, at least I'm smart.
What did you do in terms of entrepreneurship through that period? Obviously, you went in, you got high grades, all those kind of things. You're rebellious, but where did the entrepreneurial part start? Did you go and start like get jobs first, or what was the road from leaving school?
Right. Well, so my road for leaving school is like I left my first high school. That was a musical high school. I was very gifted, and music was my first love in life, and it still is. But unfortunately, I wanted to do something that has to do with music. I mean, it's never too late. Of course, you can always reinvent yourself. But like when I was 16, I graduated from a musical high school, and I was very gifted. And I had, I won competitions. I had a solo concert. It was, it was very, very good. I was very good at it. And usually you would graduate your high school when you were 18, and I was 16. And then I wanted, maybe to pursue that path. And then at one point I was just like, I went to the musical conservatory and like started all of that. And then I was like 6 months into that, I was just like, I'm not sure if I want to like play the piano to the rest of my life. And that's the first time I had back in my mind, yes, this is absolutely what I love, but will this bring me any money apart from joy? Because you cannot live out of joy. I mean, let's get real. It's like, who's going to pay my bills? I'm not going to play the piano and be the poor piano player, or like to go down the pedestrian area and like play my piano, or like, in New York or something, and this is definitely not New York. So
you don't want to be in that one of those, yeah. So you don't want to be like doing gigs, $100 a night in smoky bars and stuff, yeah.
Right. So I was always like, I was never like a completely like a material person, but I was being real. I was just like, I love this to death, but I wanted to play classical music or jazz. So I didn't want to go into like, pop or, anything that could sell and like make beats and stuff like that. I wanted to do that later, but at that point I didn't. And I'm just like, I don't think I should do this right now. And apart from that, I also wanted to have a teenage life and like going out and not like only practicing for thousands of hours every day. And so I decided to go back to my regular high school and finish it like with the other kids. And that's when, and that kind of made me more confused about what I want in my life. And then when I was 18, I was like, okay, so this is it. Like everybody's going to go to university. And what are you going to do? You're not a piano player anymore. You speak English perfectly and you do some like figure skating. So what's it going to be? I'm not famous in anything I do. I'm just kind of good at it, but I'm kind of intimidated that I'm not going to be good enough, which also comes like back from the, how I kind of changed my persona, like during the high school. I was not that confident, not that fierce. And I was young, and kind of people influenced me very much. And I was like very afraid to do any of the steps because I thought that whatever I choose to do is going to be wrong. So here we are, I'm 18 and I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And in Serbia, you usually just go right into university. You don't like take a year off to travel and stuff like that. We just go to university. And then my parents are very highly educated people, so are my grandparents, and they will all expect me to go and, like study, of course. And then I was like, okay, so what am I good at? Like, the best thing I'm good at are like languages at this point, but I'm not going to study English like everybody knows English. And then one day I was watching this TV show about Norway. At that point, everything I knew was that Norway is up north. It's very cold. They have these beautiful fjords and it's freaking expensive. And that's all I know. And at that point, that was like 15 years ago, people didn't even travel there and they didn't know much of it. So I was watching this TV show and I was like, well, maybe I could learn Norwegian and go there and earn some good money and maybe, start doing something, by myself. That was my first idea. To move to Norway, like learn the language, get a scholarship, move to Norway. And I'm like, that's really, I think I was like so happy with my discovery. I was like, eureka, the light bulb was like, this is what you're going to do. So what I started doing, because I never heard this language, I started browsing Norwegian rap so I could hear, the sound, the melody, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but I mean, what I found was what I figured out after everything is that I found a Norwegian rapper who raps in very rare Norwegian dialect nobody uses, and I'm like, I had no insight in any proper Norwegian, and I was like, yeah, but let's give it a shot. At that point, I was just like, I didn't care that much what I was gonna choose because I was like, at this point, I have no hint if it's gonna be good or not. I was just like, I'm not gonna get too nervous about this, and we'll see how it goes. And this was like the first time in my life that I was not really frustrated about what I'm gonna do with the rest of my life. And I told my parents, like, look, I'm gonna study Norwegian, and they were like shocked because like my mom is an economist, my dad is an engineer, and they told me this. They told me like, why don't you go study law like all other normal kids? This is what they told me. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that. I think it's boring. I mean, there's nothing bad to it. Like, one of my best friends are lawyers and, they have an amazing job, but that was just not my cup of tea. I was wanting to do something which is just slightly different. And so, like, I decided to enroll, and that year was very weird because that year was the year when literally everybody wanted to get into Norwegian. I don't know why till this day, but it was so difficult to get in. And I just decided that, I'm just going to do it. My mom was like, you're not going to get in. Like, the bar is so high. And I got in. I was like 8th on the list. And, I started like doing Norwegian. And it turned out to be that our Norwegian department in Belgrade got the reward as the best the Norwegian department outside of Scandinavia in whole Europe. So our program was amazing. We had amazing teachers. And literally in 1 year, they taught us what you would usually learn in like a couple of years. We could read books. And then I spent my first summer in Norway. And then, the funny thing, because, I told you that, nobody knew anything about Norway and how crazy expensive it actually was. So I was there with a friend from university. We spent our whole summer there. And then after 2 weeks, I called my mom and I told her, like, Mom, I need more money. Like, we don't have literally anything to eat. And at that point I was smoking. And then I remember the pack of cigarettes was like 17 euros. And I was like, maybe I should give up on smoking and then like to have like some stupid pasta to eat. And then I was calling my mom like literally every 3 weeks. And I think after the first month, she asked me like, Jana, like, you can tell me, like, are you buying drugs? Like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, Mom, I cannot afford drugs in Norway. It's like, it's so expensive. I wish I could, but I can't.
Yeah.
And this was just, and that really, but I really loved it over there. And I was just like, I want to do this. Like, it's cold. It's not like, Disneyland or whatever I imagine. It's not like Hawaii. But I'm like, I'm going to try, and I'm going to try to find a job and go there, And then like at the end of our second year, our head department professor, he got into an argument with an Oslo dean, and then they canceled all the scholarships. And so I never got the scholarship actually to go to Norway. And after my second year, the university turned out to be a very big disappointment for me because things did not turn out the way I want them to be. Also, Serbia is not part of the European Union, not part of any sort of unions. So for us to go there as like freelance students, we didn't have any, what's it called, the big exchange program for students across your Isaac or something like that. We didn't have even that, so nothing. And then I was just like, well, okay, I guess I'm stuck in here. And then I really want, whatever I start, I really want to finish. And I'm like, okay, you're gonna finish this university. You're not gonna care about like your like third and fourth year. I just want to get this diploma and get this over with. And then like I started learning German in university as well. And then you kind of get to understand Swedish because it's more similar to Norwegian. And then I actually ended my university knowing German and understanding Swedish and speaking really good Norwegian. So that was, something good that came out of it. And after that, after my university, I got a surprise email from one company saying that, they're looking for someone who speaks Norwegian and somebody who will learn Danish to work in their call center. And I was like one exam away from getting my degree, and I didn't plan on starting to work at all. I was just like, well, what is this? And they were offering insane amount of money back at that point. That was 800 euros, which was like 3 times of an average salary that somebody in the bank had. And I was like, and at that time there were no outsourced call centers anywhere. It was kind of a new thing. So I was just like, why not? I mean, if I'm gonna get like, that amount of money, I might as well go there and work. So they told me like, it was like this shady office. There was like 4 of us in like a 50 square meter, little like it was not an apartment, it was like an ex-store or something. And they were smoking inside. It was just like completely like the shady business, whatever. Yeah, it's a shithole.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And they told me like, okay, you have to pick your name now. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I have to pick my name? They're like, well, I have to pick your name. Like, what's your name going to be? And I'm like, I'm supposed to be a Danish person sitting in Copenhagen, but I'll be sitting in Belgrade, just, saying that I'm And then I picked my name was Heidi Larson. I picked it up myself. I don't remember what made me do it, but I just called myself Heidi Larson, and I started working in this call center. And they were basically a startup. There was like 5 of us, and they were selling mobile equipment, but they started really, kind of, they like low. They started in Denmark, outside the call center here. They had everything over there, like the stock and everything. And the first 2 years were just like all call centers, and then this is where we first found out about like SEO. Or like we were doing SEO, we didn't even know what that was at that time. That was like 10, 11 years ago.
Oh, 10, 11 years ago. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, 10, 11 years ago. I was like 21 at that point. And we were like posting like backlinks on forums. We were doing some stuff. We were leaving reviews, doing the Trustpilot, like everything. And it was all fun and games for me because, I was a kid and I was like, woohoo, I'm learning something new. I always loved like computers and like IT and stuff. And we just didn't know what we were doing, basically. And then fast forward to a couple of years later, I still, I was still working there, but that kind of evolved into like a much, much, much bigger company. And now we had like departments for like, SEO, for AdWords, for they're becoming Google AdWords partners, stuff like that. They're trying to sell on Amazon. This is like, 9 years ago, and things started rolling very fast. They rolled out on 4, 5, 6 different marketplaces. And at that point, I left for Chicago because my ex-boyfriend was living there, and the money I was getting for it was way like lower than what I could live on in Chicago. And I didn't want to ask my parents for any money, because the moment I started working, I told them like, no, I don't want to ask any money of you. And I just really wanted to show them and myself how capable I am of making money and supporting myself. And I always wanted to earn more and more and more and more, even though like my family, they're always been, wealthy. I hadn't had any problems in my life. I could get whatever I wanted.
So
when they didn't have money, they would give me everything,
Can I quickly ask you, what was the drive behind the more and more? Obviously, you're entrepreneurs, people want to make money and stuff. There's a meaning right behind it. It's like, I want to do this because of X, Y, and Z. Some people want to get the money for obviously legacy, support themselves, that kind of stuff. Some people want it for other things. So what was the drive back then? Is like, I want more money, I want more money, I want more money. What was like the initial drive behind it? Is that to prove something to your parents, or?
Yeah, this was first of all like proof to me and proof to my parents. And at that point, I was following a couple of newsletters, and I always loved seeing people like, in suits in big corporations. And I always thought of them like, wow, you guys are so successful. And then at that point, I started dressing nicely for work, because that kind of affected my brains. I'm like, like when you go to like when you go to a shitty job, they make you wear a suit so you kind of feel important, even if you're doing a shitty job, right? Well, in my mind, it was just like, well, I want to be successful like these people are. I don't know who these people are, but they really look successful. So I'm like, first I'm going to start looking successful physically. And then I want to earn some more money, just because I'm like, because I was like, because I think I can earn a lot of money, and this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to, do that for myself and also for my parents, who till this day, I mean, they still kind of judge me for like going and studying Norwegian. And I was just like, I'm going to show you that I can actually do something with this. And then this is my motivation to be first, like to be wealthy and to be, like, but the money I earned myself, not the money that my parents gave me. And so in Serbia, I kind of got to that point. I mean, it was not that difficult because it's a poor country and people don't have that much money. But then I kind of got like, my confidence grew as I kind of earned more and more. And I did not mind staying a job like in 12 hours if I'm going to have an extra bonus or learning something new or bringing more money to the company, because I would feel so super capable. And I'll be like, yeah, now you can do some amazing things. And that was my pep talk to myself, which didn't always work, but this is what ideally that was how I kind of had it in my mind. And then like on top of all of that, I leave for Chicago, where I'm practically poor. And I'm like, no, like now I again have to do something. Even though I was super successful in Serbia, I was nobody over there. And I was just like, man, like I have to do something, but I cannot earn more money from this company while I'm sitting here. I didn't have a visa. I applied for tons of jobs, but nobody wanted to hire me just because I didn't have a US visa. I didn't want to work, illegally or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so what else do I know? I know this Norwegian thing, and then this is when freelancer.com first started. And then I was just like, wow, like, look, I'm just gonna like post a couple of things over there and about me teaching Norwegian. Maybe somebody responds to the ad. So there was like one doctor that responded. He was like, you're from Belgrade, but you teach Norwegian. What sort of scam is this? And I'm like, no, it's not a scam. Just, let me help you. And I didn't charge him for like first like 3-4 lessons. So he sees that I'm the real deal because I was certified and everything. And, like I till this day, like had like over 100 students that were teaching Norwegian through me. And then one thing led to another. He recommended me to some of his coworkers. And then I got the idea to send like an emails and messages to big companies like Luke Oil, Todd Oil. I did the research of my competition. I saw that there are like a lot of very, very big schools, but we were all using the same materials. So I was not dependent on anyone to give me their, PDF books and stuff like that. And I decided to send an email to very big companies and to the smaller ones offering better rates. And I said that I have a team, which I don't. But we didn't use camera, so I could be whoever I want. Like once I could be Jana, sometimes I can be Mary. I could like change people. And I was just, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm like, I'll just send this, and I'm gonna figure it out along the way. I was never like a good kind of, like a business plan. I didn't have it all figured out. I had some, but then I'm like, I'm just gonna, play by the heart and just, And then next thing you know it, like in like 7 or 8 months, I was teaching Norwegian to corporate clients. I still have contacts with them like till this day. They send me, like Christmas cards and stuff like that. And I was earning like 3 times more than I was earning in this company. And I was really happy because, I achieved that myself, but I really needed help. And at that point, I was so afraid to delegate because I was like, what if that's not the same quality? Or what if these people really want to talk to me because they're used to my voice and like my methods? Doesn't necessarily mean that these other people are, worse than me. Maybe they're even better, but they have like different approach, right? And so this was like the first thing that kind of stopped me on my way of like, growing the language school. That's actually my incapability of delegating, and that like was really bad. And at that point, I kind of hit the wall and I was like, I really want to do it. I want to start this language school. I think it's insane. And nobody from my university and nobody from all other people I know, they never did like Norwegian training for foreigners. They just stayed in Serbia. They did like, Serbian training because a lot of medical staff was going to Norway. Norway is an amazing country, but they don't have a lot of competent people inside of medicine, technology, like for oil. They import all of these people, and these people have to know Norwegian in order to work for these companies. And this is where I saw my big chance. And so I was getting like so many students, but I didn't want to give up on my job, like I was like, no, I still want to do this job. And then at one point I moved back to Belgrade, and then I go to Copenhagen. I was like living between like Belgrade and Copenhagen a long time. And then the turn point was when my boss told me they were opening some new marketplaces, and he wanted to open like a Finnish marketplace, and Finnish people and customer support and everything around it, it's very expensive. And so he got the idea to hire people from Russia to just, find people there. There's like close to the Finnish Bay, and they probably speak Finnish. And he just told me like, look, Jana, you're going to go to St. Petersburg. It was February. So it means like it's dark. It's a shitty weather. It's dark. It's raining and snowing the whole time. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of Russian mentality when it comes to business. Honestly, I have a lot of good Russian friends, but when it comes to business, I was not too happy about what was going on over there. And then he was like, you're going to go to St. Petersburg. And just, he just told me like, take care of it. And I'm like, take care of what? Company registration, auditors, banks, meetings, the whole staff office, just go and do it. You can do it. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, okay, challenge accepted. Maybe this is something, which I can't do, but I'm just going to try, And so in February, I go there. It's like pitch dark. Like you have literally a little bit of grayish sort of light between 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. So if you don't take a break and go outside, you don't catch any light. It's like dark. And after 2 weeks, my body was just like, it's like,
no, vitamin D,
like where's my vitamin? Yeah, it was horrible. And but like I stayed there for about like 2 years, went back and forth in Belgrade in Russia. And you know what? I did it. I made the full company. I made everything work. And I was so proud of myself. And at that point, I was like, Jana, why are you working for somebody else? Like, look what you did. And also, I don't speak Russian. I had zero context, nothing. And I built a company with 30 employees, with an office, auditors, banks, everything. And the Russian culture out there is so weird, and they don't respect women in the way that they would do in Europe. Like, for instance, like they don't shake hands with women. They just nod their heads. And other women, they don't shake your hand as well. They also nod their head. And men, they shake their hands. Or for instance, like I think they also made fun of me because like the company sent me and not a man, because it's probably a shitty company since they sent a woman. And so I remember being at this dinner, and we're eating and we're negotiating, and then they were like, no, you have to drink vodka, and if you don't drink vodka and then eat pickles after that, we're not going to make a deal. And I'm like, and from all of the freaking drinks, I really cannot stand the smell of vodka due to my teenage period. No, that kind of makes me.
And also pickles as well.
And pickles as well.
Waking up the next morning and pickles.
That's the lethal combo. If you ever want to kill me, vodka and pickles should do.
I know that.
So, it was just horrible,
Let's get into, so this is the transition, because the bit of the story I want to get to now, we're about 35 minutes in. I want to get to the translations company, because you've grown that. So
I came back from Russia, and I just told my boss, like, look, I think I deserve a bonus, because at that point I was doing all of the Amazon accounts, like all of their expansion to other marketplaces, doing the complete international, like I was the business development manager for like 15 different web shops. And I was like, okay, I think that I deserve a bonus, and I was, thinking a really good bonus, because I did something that probably a company would charge like 40,000 euros for you to do. And he gave me 50 euros. So, and I was like, excuse me. Also, I spent all of my money over there, because ruble, the currency in Russia, was like sky high at that point. And I was like, okay, this is it. I just really want to just, do something on myself. I don't want to do anything for this person who gave me 50 euros, who doesn't appreciate me. And why would I put all the hard work for somebody who doesn't appreciate that, or I don't get any appraisal for? And from that point, it took me only 3 years to quit my job. As I said, I was not a risk taker. I think this is, because like, as I said, like in high school, I did not feel so confident. I kind of lost it. I lost my edge. And also business wise, a lot of my friends, they didn't understand what the company was about. And at that point, it was 400 employees, one of the leading e-commerces in Northern Europe. They had like the 8-figure revenues on every marketplace. It was insane. I mean, it was an amazing experience. I can build e-commerce from scratch if you want. I can build your store and basically everything. And then, it took me 3 years to quit my job. I was literally like 2 years, I was just like living on YouTube. I don't know what the hell I was doing at the company, but I was just like, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to quit my job, saying this to myself for 3 years. And then what happened? 6 months before I was to quit my job, I meet Lazar from this very company. And then he was like, you need to quit your job. Like, you cannot do this anymore. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You should start something on your own. And I'm like, I know. I totally know. I'm totally really want to do this. And during those 3 years, the only thing I just was dreaming about is starting my own company, because I thought that I could probably be a good boss and a really supportive boss and team leader. I already had the structures throughout the company, how everything works. And then finally I went on vacation, and the next morning I gave my resignation, and I'm like, I quit my job. And at that point, of course, I didn't think it through. I also was not like planning ahead what I'm gonna do. I'm like, I just know that I really want to quit my job, because I want to do 100% this. I really want to focus 100% on this. And I also think this is like one of the problems why people don't go all in, for instance, with their Amazon business or any other businesses, because they are holding on to this, like more sure income or whatever else they're doing. They think that's going to be more secure for them or for their family. But until you ditch this, you're going to be 50-50. You're not going to go all in on all of this. So if I didn't quit my job and just kept this as a side gig, I would have never like evolved into what YLT is today. So I just decided to quit my job, and I was like, oh my God, like this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And I have no freaking idea what's going to happen to me, but I know I have to do it. This is it. And if I hadn't quit my job, then I would be so freaking miserable and depressing, at that point. And after I quit my job, I was severely depressed, because after 8 years in corporate world, wearing high heels and suits and makeup, I'm in my pajamas for 3 weeks. I mean, I know lockdown and everything, it's not a big deal right now, but it was, 5 years ago when I quit my job, I was just in my PJs, feeling all, horrible, like staring at the wall. I was such a shock. I was like, where are the people? I was like here in my apartment. I was living by myself at that point, and I was feeling horrible. And then after 3 weeks, after like taking off the like smelly pajamas and washing my hair, finally, I'm like, okay, you're gonna do something, and you're gonna right now. So I bought the domain. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do languages. This is what I've always wanted to do. I know e-commerce. Let's just put two and two together, and let's start doing like translations for e-commerce, for websites. Like I did some like e-commerce consultancy. I had a couple of clients, and things, started rolling really nicely. And at that point, I had like a couple of like 4 or 5 team members with me. They were working for this Danish company. They were all natives. They also had like e-commerce experience. And I'm like, let's just do this kind of together. And I had really hard time in me being a boss. I didn't have a problem being boss in my old job, but when you start working for yourself, that's something completely different. You can have like thousands of years experience for working with somebody else, but when you start working for yourself, it's something completely different. It's something that you really have to learn, and it's like a kind of a long time learning that. And this is also what I realized, that of course I can be bossy at work for somebody else, but me being boss to my translator, that's something different. And like, what if they get offended, and I don't want to be this type of person, but I have to make some decisions which are probably going to be wrong in the beginning, but I really have to do it. And this is something that I've been struggling with at the beginning for like first 5 or 6 months for sure. And then on top of everything, knowing SEO and everything about it, I picked the wrong domain name. I picked Wild Tea Translations, and once you type the Wild Tea Translations, the freaking Bible showed up on page 1, because Wild Tea stood for Young Literal Translation of the Bible. So on my website, which had a little chat pop up, I would get something like, "What's Andrew 15 to 30? Can you tell me what this means?" And I'm like, "You mean, would you like to get it translated?" And they're like, "No, I want to know what our baby Jesus says." And I was just like, oh my God. So it took me like 7 months and a really good SEO expert to get and be ranked for actually Wild Tea Translations on page 1. And we had to redo completely everything. So I literally just started everything completely, just upside down. No matter how much knowledge I had, I just literally started like everything upside down. And we were doing e-commerce websites and everything. And we were doing also Amazon. And then, little by little, we started getting more and more inquiries about Amazon. And then I was like, this is really interesting. Like I could make a training for translators because they know how everything works. I mean, this was like a long time ago, and you couldn't find a lot of translators that had anything to do with Amazon. And I'm like, I'm going to make this like an internal, like training. We made the knowledge base in Google Sites. It was really cool. And I'm like, this is working. And then I'm like, I just think I really want to switch to Amazon translations only. And I Googled my competitors a little bit.
What year was this when you decided to do that?
This was 2007, end of 2017.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to move this website to .net and keep the .com for Amazon only. I'm going to focus on this. And I had a really good feeling. And this is what you and me talked, about some time ago. I was like, when you have your inner gut saying, like, I think you should do it and you should definitely do it, listen to it, no matter how crazy or whatever it is. Always follow your gut, and that's absolutely going to be the best decision you can get. And I've had
examples. And I know every fucking time you don't follow your gut, it's disaster. You have to go. You can't ignore it.
Yes, and when you decide to follow it, just follow it till the very end. Don't give up in the middle just because you kind of get doubts or be like, was this actually a good decision? Don't think much about it. Don't be me. Don't overthink. Don't overanalyze, and just do it. And that's going to be the best decision you can make for yourself. And so and I just checked my competitors. I saw that there are much better chances in me beating like a leading agency in that field, apart from like having like 1,000 other translation agencies out there. Also, PPC clicks and Google Ads were, it was much cheaper for Amazon translations and stuff like that than just general translations. And I remember it was like 20 something cents in the US. So it was absolutely insane. And then I'm like, let's just do it. I think this is going to be good. And we decided, okay, this is it. We're doing Amazon from now on. And I completely retrained the translators who were, having like a copywriting and marketing experience into Amazon, because I knew this could be done, taking that, the previous company had almost 100,000 products. And I saw like, the translation had a big impact on the sales and the keywords and stuff. And I'm like, we can definitely do it. And I can do it better because we're going to niche down to only this. And a lot of people ask, like,
like when you were saying like a little while back in the conversation, it was that you didn't want to outsource certain things, even to an assistant and stuff.
Yeah.
But let's quickly talk about how you went from you to 43 staff in a couple of years.
Right. Well, it all escalated when I actually learned how to delegate. So what happened is that I was like I was in the whole operational work. I was doing basically everything that I should not be doing. And then one day I kind of burned out, and Lazar was like, we're gonna go to this fabulous vacation. We're going to the Maldives with some friends. And he was like, you're not going to work on the Maldives. Maybe they don't even have Wi-Fi over there. And I'm like, oh, how do you mean I'm not going to work in Maldives? And I'm like, hello, Jana. Like, do you hear what you're saying? Like, of course you're not going to work from freaking Maldives. You're just going to eat and drink till you pass out. This is what you're going to do over there. And then I'm like, okay. And then what I did, like, I hired someone who is now our operations manager, Luna. And I'm like, look, I have a good feeling about you, and I think you can do this. She was, at the time, she was an Italian translator for our team. And I was like, I think I can give you more responsibility. And I told her what to do. And I told another person to be like her sort of assistant at that point. And I'm like, this is what you guys are going to do. And I really have to take this vacation. If I don't do this, I'm going to blow my head off. And like, this is what's going to happen. So I went to the Maldives, and for the first 3 days, I was like literally shaking. I was not sleeping. I was like, oh my God. I was just like, I could not live with myself knowing that I'm not in charge of my company and that I don't know what's happening. And then like the day 4 and 5, I was kind of just feeling, okay, it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. And then by the end of my vacation, I was just like, you know what? I'm either going to have a company when I come back or not. And if I'm not going to have a company, I will sort it out. I will find a way to fix it. And then I came back and nothing bad happened. And I'm like, what? Nothing bad happened? I mean, there were some like small fuck ups, but nothing too serious, right? And I was like, oh my God, this works. And then as soon as I got back, the first day I got back, I was like, okay, I made the whole structure. I made our KPIs, our SOPs, everything. I got down to like writing what every person in the team does. I hired a couple of more people, and that was 2018 in March. At that point, we were about 18 people, I think. Then I spoke at the conference in Prague. After that, it was like 25. I literally like every 2-3 months, I hired 5 new people because I have really like a really good procedure. At one point, things were not looking good because there was like a lot of people not following my procedures. So I had to sit down again and make sure that it's absolutely clear, and that other people who are now in management, that they double check everything. And I made another a couple of videos for them only. I like making videos. I have a lot of video tutorials, and I think it's very important to show your screen, to show your face, because you cannot have a meeting with every single person. But I think, when you have a video tutorial, they see your face. You're like, hi everyone, blah blah, with a warm voice. They kind of like you and they follow what you say. And we had some like ups and downs definitely last year. But since last year, the team grew like immensely. Now it's like 43 people, and I think things are working very, very good, especially because I'm a really big fan of bonuses, something I never had in my previous job. And what
you got 50 euros, didn't you? In your last
yeah, I know. You should be grateful. And I was just like, I'm not going to be like my ex-boss. I'm also going to be, I'm not going to be a sucker and be like, oh, of course you don't have to work today, because like, I don't know what happened, freaking your cat ate your mouse or whatever. But I was just like, and I really value the work of people that work for us. And I really appreciate that. I also, what I have, and what I think is very important, is I have like everybody's like major events in their lives, like babies, birthdays, and stuff like that. And I say, hello, here's a little gift from YLT, happy birthday. I reach out to them personally, and people remember that. And I think it's very important to know like what's the name of the people that are in your team and some tiny things about them, because people appreciate that. And that's why they will stay to work with you and not with somebody else, because they feel appreciated and they feel like they're not invisible, but actually a part of the team. And, that's why I also mentioning everybody like in YLT, because I think I have to thank everyone for the amazing work that they're doing. Sometimes it's like a mix up with a project, or like a deadline is too short, but they're really doing an amazing job, and I really couldn't do anything without these people, and that's why I really appreciate them. You have to appreciate your employees until certain, there's a limit to this. You should not go
you
over
have boundaries. They
doing
do.
it.
Yeah, exactly. You look after them, you show them love, show them care, you support them.
Exactly.
But there is a line of what on delivery, isn't there? It's like there's the minimum requirements of a job. Some people do the minimum requirements, some will go above and beyond, and they get rewarded for it. But there has to be a balance. And like you said, you know, people have to show up, don't they? And it's just basic employment. That's the basic fundamentals. But some people struggle with that, and then obviously that's an issue you have to be strong with and deal with accordingly, because there's always a lot of good people out there who want that position. I want to switch things up a bit with you. Coming into the last 10 minutes now.
Right.
What has been the darkest hour just before dawn for you?
Well, the darkest hour definitely in my life was the moment when I I felt very lost. I think it kind of built up like from my, high school period, where I kind of started losing myself. I kind of lost myself completely. This was like around 6 years ago, and I feel completely lost. I was like, why am I afraid to show who I really am? Why don't I speak up for myself? Why do I not care about myself? Why do I care more about other people and not about myself? And why do I show support to everyone except myself? I need a pat on the back sometimes for myself, but I'm being my worst enemy, and I'm being the person who's like the ruthless person is myself, to myself. And then I knew I had a problem. It all kind of escalated really quickly in my life. It ruined a lot of my friendships, a lot of my relationship with my boyfriend was ruined at that time. And then I'm like, okay, I know I have a problem, and I don't know how to help myself. I exactly know what my problem is. I don't have to go dig deeper to find where my root of the problem is. I absolutely know what my problem is. I know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know how to solve this. And I was miserable, and I was like, I'm not a depressive person. I never have like black thoughts of suicide and stuff like that, because I'm always like, very positive, and I like to have a positive impact on people. That makes me happy. I like buying presents for other people. I'm just, that's kind of like, like a social butterfly person, And at that point, I was just being everything the opposite, and I was completely lost in this really dark place. And at that time, I was like, I don't know what to do. And I wanted to go and see a therapist for a couple of years before that. But that, of course, never happened. I just kind of prolonged like other people do. And the turning point was that one of my best friends told me, she knew I was like, like just by talking to me, people were just like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, nothing, it's cool. And I was like trying to be like all happy and cheerful, but I was so like, depressed inside. And I'm like, so many like super amazing people, like, Robbie Williams looks like very depressed, and like all other people who tend to be like super, super funny and like smiling and positive the whole time have like such a big problem actually. And I'm like, I don't want to be that sort of people, to be like smiling on the inside and like dying on the inside. And then one of my best friends, she told me like, look, I have a really good therapist, and I really want you to see her. And I'm like, sure, I'll go. But I never went. And then it was my birthday, and she bought me my first session for my birthday. And then she's like, you have to go now. If you don't go, I'm not going to talk to you. And she really kind of whips my ass a lot of times, and I'm like, okay, I'll better listen to you. And so I went to my first session as my birthday present, and I was like, wow. And I couldn't believe I was talking so much to this like unknown stranger, and I felt so good. And she had a really good impact on me. It was like a really good match for me at that point. And then from that point, I started seeing her once per week for 7 months. And I was literally just telling my story for the first 5 months. Friday, every week, I was just telling my story, 6 months. And then I was just like, okay, this is not going anywhere. I'm just like sitting here telling my story. And then she started talking to me, telling me like, asking me some questions that I can't believe somebody asked me, and I cannot believe what I'm saying to these questions. I'm like, where is this coming from? And then 3-4 weeks after these 6 months have passed, I kind of got a revelation. I was like, oh, like, wow, something clicked in my head. And I went to see her and told her like, look, I think I know what I should do. And ask me some more questions. And then I was like, oh my God, it was like baby steps, like tiny baby steps. But the first moment I saw this baby step progress in my life, I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so good. And I think the problem is that people don't have the perseverance when they're doing the therapy. They either start, then they're just like, well, I have to go here like 1,000 more times to tell my story, or they kind of hit the wall because it kind of gets really hard. It gets hard and you do get depressed because you're like, wait, so I'm supposed to do something completely opposite from what I've been doing my whole life, and to stop doing that, how the hell do I do that? And this is like one of the most difficult things that I've done in my life, to actually try to change your behavior for some really stupid, you're not changing who you are. You are who you are, and that's fine. But you're changing your behavior about some certain things, and you are changing your SOPs. This is how I see it. And little by little, you're going to change it, and you're going to be the better and one day the best version of yourself. But you really have to understand that it's really hard. A lot of people give up just because it's really hard. Don't give up on yourself. Nobody else will help you unless you help yourself. And this is going to be the most rewarding experience ever. So today, after 200 hours of therapy and more, I am close to being back to that bold, fierce kid I was in my elementary school. And I just can't believe that I had to go through all of this mess in my teenage time. And after that, not believing in myself or anything. Of course, I mean, a lot of things, support come from Lazar, of course, my partner, which is absolutely important. But I mean, I started all of this without him. And, I mean, it's very important that you understand that you need help. And I think mental health is something that nobody should be afraid of speaking about. And I know it's like, for instance, like here in Serbia, it's still like it's a taboo topic. People think you're freaking crazy. They say like, don't tell this to other people and stuff like that. But I think it's the best thing you can do to yourself. Once you fix yourself, you can go and fix your business. I think it all starts from you individually. And then once you fix yourself, everything else is going to make more sense in your life.
Yeah. Legacy or money?
That's a good question. I think I'll go for legacy.
Cool. How would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as a person who really helped other people and who was a genuinely good person and very good businessman.
Woman.
Yes. Did I not say that?
Very good businesswoman. Jana, you're a good friend and an absolute fucking force of nature, but I love having you around. That was your in-depth. Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I loved it. Thank you. So I feel like I had a therapy session right now.
You did.
Thank you for saving me some money. Thank you.
You did, because like you just mentioned earlier on, like you said, the first 6 months, maybe what you need to do was the first 6 months was just to talk. I think the problem is with people that sometimes that are misunderstood or need to get stuff out is that the next person is waiting to talk. They're not listening. They're waiting to talk.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very, very common thing that happens nowadays. I'll do it, you'll do it. But then I have a switch in my head. No, listen, like I have to do that as well. And I think maybe what the therapist was doing was allowing you to talk, to get years off of your chest in that period so that you can get a release, so that you can make sense of it. And then she's be able to ask you questions. One, she learns about you. And two, you're able to just express what you needed to express that you kept inside. So
yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And I now see the whole point in me just talking for 6 months, because, you also want to, you have to describe people in your life to this person. It takes a lot of time, and this is the right way to go. And I absolutely agree. I do that sometimes. I just wait for you to finish so I can say what I have. I don't actually listen.
And I think
people do that the whole time.
Nearly everyone on the planet does that. Like I've just spoke over you, fucking rude, right? But I have to check myself. You have to check yourself. But I think it's a common thing is that people are not always heard because people don't listen. And I think sometimes it's good just to say nothing and let the person talk, not try and solve their problems, but just listen. And I think that's often missed. And I think that's a good thing for people that want to express themselves, is to have someone there just to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like how people say, like, I'm a good listener. Well, now I totally understand what that means.
Yeah.
It's not like, you can talk to me and you can talk to everyone. I can talk to this freaking tree over here, but it doesn't make it a good listener. A good listener is a really, really one of the best capabilities that people can have.
Cool. Well, let's finish on that note. What's the best way that people can reach you?
Well, you can reach me at Jana, that's Jana, at ylt-translations.com. And if you guys have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer them.
Cool. Guys, see you back here 4 p.m. BST tomorrow. Jana, thank you. And
thank you for listening.
Everyone listening. Take care of your families. I'll be back here tomorrow. Much love. Take care.